Okay, the last document that we have to prepare for escrow is called the escrow instruction sheet.
So we're going to my KW?
Back to my KW, that's correct. And before that, I'm just going to share with the video what I shared with you, Terry, is that carrying a paper file that's well organized, so I have an organization tab for my paper file, is well worth it and makes you're always going to need to refer to your purchase contract, have it handy in a paper file. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to go into the office forms. And the office forms are where I'm going to find this escrow instruction sheet. Escrow instructions, there it is.
Okay.
Does that show up for you on your screen?
Yes.
No, for me, look at mine.
Oh, yes.
Yes, it does, okay, great. So this is a little redundant, and here your printout of your green sheet is going to come in a little handy. But first, we're going to put our address, right? So 1450 South Kihei Road, Kihei, blah, 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 right? And it asks, what is our acceptance date? Well, that was 10/31/19. And when is the initial deposit money due? And we've got 1 day later. Oops, it wants a date. So 11/1/19. And the additional deposit is due on 11/16/19. And the closing date is 12/16/19, except we're going to try and make it the 15th, aren't we?
Yes.
And then the purchase contract reference date, that would probably be 10/29/19. There we go. And then our escrow company is Fidelity, and our escrow officer is Denny, and their telephone number is blah, blah, blah. And their email address is blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
And the escrow number, whatever your escrow number is.
Okay.
And then this is not very hard to fill out. So just, you can just watch me. You don't need to do it all along. So now you're going to click whichever one you represent. If you represent the buyer, you click the buyer. You're going to tell us your buyer's full name. If the buyer lives somewhere else, we'd appreciate the buyer's address if you've got it.
Okay.
If they live in the unit your buyer's, well, no, of course this is just, sorry, if the seller lives somewhere else, then we'd appreciate it. Your buyer, of course, lives somewhere else. Phone number, that would be a home phone number. Here's the cell phone number. Here's an email address. This would be your name, and just put your cell phone number there is fine.
Okay.
On the seller side, if you would give the seller's name, the agent, the company, a phone number, and an email address, that would be very helpful. This is the easiest way in your file for us to know who to contact if we needed to contact these people.
Okay.
The mortgage company here, the loan officer, if they're here, and you just need to say it's in Kihei or Kahului, whatever, and a phone number if you've got them.
Okay.
The type of financing, and then if there's an outside referral or not, and if so, who the agent is, and the brokerage.
Okay.
And now you're going to fill in this number, and this is where your green sheet printout comes in handy.
Okay.
You're going to say you're at 442, right?
Yep.
442, and you got to put commas into this one. And then the commission is at 2.5%. And now your green sheet is going to tell you what is the gross commission income on 2.5% at 442. So you don't have to calculate it.
Nice.
Have you got that?
No, say that again. My computer just did something weird. I don't know what's happening here.
No, just go to, you printed out your green sheet.
Yes.
Don't forget that printout.
Okay.
And on your green sheet, near the top of the portion that's about the transaction, it says, what's the gross commission income on this transaction?
For me, no.
For the company, for the whole.
The gross commission is $11,050.
11,050, and there's no GET, right? No GET.
Right.
So
Right.
the total commission is $11,050, right?
Yes.
Excellent. Great. And then you need to send this to your broker for your broker's signature.
Okay.
And then this gets sent to Escrow.
Oh, okay.
Okay? And it goes into your file right
Okay.
below where it says timeline.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's pretty easy.
Yeah.
And the last thing I need to point out to you is that at Keller Williams, we would like you to do what's called satisfaction waivers or satisfaction approvals. So
Okay.
we want to see, you know, your file should have in it not only your initial earnest money deposit or proof of cash funds or all those items that you're delivering, but when you get into your preliminary title report, here is a preliminary title report receipt and acceptance. So you fill this out and then you have your buyer sign. And then you provide that to both the listing agent and Escrow.
Okay.
All right, if you've got a transaction coordinator, you'd share it with your TC as well. And then you upload that into this slot. There'll be a slot in Command for G2 Preliminary Title Report Acceptance. That's where this goes.
Okay.
And then we've got I-2 form for later discovered information. Here's your J1 inspection approval. And we have two J1 inspection approvals. One that is a little more complicated because loans are involved, or one for cash buyers. So you see one here, it's called for cash.
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to go, and a waiver, by the way, of a property inspection is something different. This is a form that if your buyer says, oh, I don't want to have my property inspected, I don't want to hire a professional inspector, I'll do it myself.
Okay.
We'd like you to get a waiver signed for that.
Okay.
So this J1 inspection approval form looks a little daunting. You can either say, everything's okay, my buyer is ready to proceed, or we find some findings unsatisfactory and we wish to cancel, or most common is the buyer would like these 3 repairs.
Okay.
And then you list the repairs here. And then you say, okay, here's how we want to deal with these repairs. And you say, the buyer accepts the property and agrees to proceed with the transaction if the following is agreed to by the seller. And this gives you some options. The seller can make all the repairs by 10 days prior to closing, and then you're going to have a little walkthrough. And if not, some funds are held in escrow so that the repairs can be completed. Or here, the seller agrees to make the repairs listed above, and if in the event the repairs are not completed, then the seller agrees as per J4 of the purchase contract. Or the seller agrees to credit the buyer at the close of escrow in the amount of $1,500. That is the easiest way to deal with repairs, and it makes for the least hassle. However, sometimes sellers go, well, I can make that repair for a lot less than that, and so they won't agree to that.
Okay.
I have had a lot of deals lately with a lot of challenges at closing over repairs and insufficient cleaning. So I'm just warning you that you want to manage to this 10-day inspection if you've got a repair request, so that the seller has lots of time to finish the repairs if more finishing needs to be done. The last option here is to reduce the purchase price. That's not going to be feasible on a loan. So that really applies more to a cash buyer if you're using this form for a cash buyer. You can't change the loan amount without having to totally apply to a new loan. So
Okay.
the lender isn't going to go for that. So these are the options here on your J3, and one of those should be filled out. The J3 for cash, just so you can see it, is a lot simpler. It also offers the option for repair items, but it doesn't have all these things in it because there's no loan involved.
Okay.
And then we go to a J3 final inspection, and there's the J3 final inspection that corresponds to the more complicated J1 inspection form, right? And now you say, well, you didn't do what you said you were going to do. So now here are the options of what you're going to do. In order to affect this and have money withheld in escrow, you have to do this walkthrough at 10 days before closing for the repairs. If you've got a situation at final walkthrough where the cleaning hasn't been done thoroughly enough, now you need to have the buyer or the seller do that cleaning within the last 4 days.
Okay.
It needs to happen. You are not going to keep funds in escrow for cleaning 4 days before closing. They can't do it. It's going to delay closing. So just get it done. Just
Okay.
work with the listing agent. Call your broker and say, what do I do here?
Okay.
And we'll try to make it all work. It's good to know our letterheads here if you ever needed that. What else is here? So here's the termite inspection approval. You can also just have your buyer sign the termite inspection and say, got it, okay, I get it, and put that into your file. We need evidence that the buyers saw these documents and agreed to them.
Okay.
Okay. So both for the title report and for the termite inspection, we need their approval. Here is any M1 document. So let me show you how those that document works. This is a very cool document that lets you just check. You put an X here of all the documents that you were provided, and they sign here in the first section, having received those documents, and then you send it to them again 10 days later to sign when they approve these documents.
So they don't have to individually sign each one?
Oh, absolutely not. No.
Okay.
And you're not going to keep those documents. That's
Okay.
a lot of documents to keep. And we don't keep documents because they're not really of value in the future.
Okay.
They can't be used again. If you wanted to keep some of them, you can make a separate little folder and command to keep them. That's up to you.
Okay.
Here is document receipt and approval again for N1, which is rental documents. So here are rental documents in future when you need to acknowledge those. So you see here we have a number of documents here that you're going to want to be aware of.
Okay.
Okay? And we do require those.
Okay.
As you go along.
Okay.
Now, my final comment about this is, remember, the most important thing for all of us to do is to keep our transaction going on time and as per the timeline. And if at any time you see something that isn't going to happen on time, you have to extend it. And there is in this, I just got out of here, but in the same document folder we were just looking at, there is a document called Extension of Contingencies. So let's say you go for your final walkthrough and the place isn't clean and the seller says, oh, I need 2 more days. So your 5-day final walkthrough now goes to 3 days. You must extend the final walkthrough in writing, signed by both parties. Otherwise, that paragraph defaults to acceptance.
Okay.
Okay? So you cannot let that, oh yeah, we'll come again in a couple of days, do it casually. has to be done in writing.
Okay.
So there's a form in our intranet for that. If you need to extend closing, that's a zip forms document, and it would call on F3, which is the closing extension date. If you need, when you get there, you ask your broker for help, but just kind of letting you know to keep in mind your job is to make sure everything is done on time, and if not, please extend it in writing.
Okay.
That's it. That's your lesson for the day.
That was excellent, Marion. Thank you so much.
Okay, now how did end meeting? Okay, I don't know how to stop my video, but whatever. All right, my dear, you're so welcome. Go do this and set up your escrow, and be sure to also send a copy of the purchase contract and counteroffer to the lender.
Okay.
They can't start their work without that contract.
Yeah, and I already did. I sent it to her this morning.
Super. And
Okay.
you've already sent it to escrow, so they know.
Yep.
And on you go.
Okay.
All right, so
Thank
the last thing I'm going to send you is I'm going to send you my buyer communication plan.
Okay.
That is from the class called How Real Estate Licensees Responsibilities During Escrow.
Okay.
And I urge you to go through that with your client in the phases that it recommends, because people have no idea what happens next.
Okay.
And they are totally in the dark, and they're going to feel so amazed that you are giving them something that tells them what's going to happen next.
Okay.
It's also a great document because it tells you what happens next.
Okay.
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 I'll send that to you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Let me know anytime you need something.
Okay. Thanks, Marion.
Bet. Take care.
All right. All right. You too. Bye.